All right, everyone wants to age in place. We talk about this all the time. However, maybe you want to be home, you want to be safe, but you're not ready to have somebody come in the house and check on you. You're not ready for that level of care. But did you know there are some sophisticated electronic devices that would help you and your family have peace of mind so you can stay home safe and sound? So if you want to know more about this, and I definitely do, stay tuned. Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Scan FYI. My guest today is Howard Stein of Home Helpers. Good morning, Howard.
Good morning. Thanks for having me again.
Always a pleasure to talk to you. You know, I feel like we always learn something new, and I don't think we've really talked about this particular topic. We always talk about aging in place, and we all want to age in place. But yeah, we're not always ready to have someone come in the house. Turns out there's another option, and that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, and the thing is, and so I never really focused on it as much. We always had these tools, but more recently, this has come up in my conversations with families about, the transition. They aren't quite ready to make that transition. People still want to maintain their independence, but they want to have a little bit more security in terms of being able to remain in their house safely. And, these types of conversations only come up if the family is willing to have those kind of conversations. It's one of those things, but there are a variety of devices that can give you that little bit of insurance policy to know that in the event of a fall, in the event of a medical emergency, that you can have access to help without having to make a phone call or without having to have someone call on your behalf.
You know, when you first started to talk about that, I immediately thought of even like a Ring doorbell or, something like that where, you have a two-way conversation. And I'm thinking this is going to be something similar where you're speaking and there is somebody out there listening.
Right. And that I think is one of the key kind of distinctions between the technology that we use and some of the other learning devices that are out there. When you have an emergency and you push that button or you have a fall and that device auto triggers a call to the call center, you actually get a person who's certified in crisis assessment to actually speak with you to help you through whatever that triggered that alert and initiated that call. So yes, and that person is going to ask you what's going on. Why did do you need help today? Is there an emergency? And that could be a very comforting solution for people who are not ready yet to take that next step or feel like they can remain independent in their house without some additional support.
Or you don't want to have another person in the house. You just, yeah. So let's get into it. Tell me about the first device.
So we have really two different types of devices. One is a more traditional desktop, kind of countertop type of device. And those devices are actually super sophisticated nowadays. And what they can actually do is take the temperature of the room. They can measure CO2. There's an AI component to them. You can call out to it and say help, and it actually understands that. You could push the button as well. Depending on what room you're in, there's other accessories that we can add to it, like a fall detection, door alerts. There's many different types of additional accessories that we can add for different types of situations and things that we want to be aware of in the house. The primary one is fall detection. So typically for the desktop device, we would put that in the bathroom because that's primarily where most of the falls
Yep.
actually do
Yeah.
happen. And if it does detect a fall, again, that's an auto trigger direct to that call center. And then that person's going to assess the situation, whether or not we want to dispatch help. I think the other thing that's really nice about this is that you can include other family members or caregivers in your circle. So if you want, to include a sibling or a loved one, you can do that. And the nice thing about this is also through the app, that loved one can actually call right through to the device, right? So what sometimes happens is maybe a person forgets to charge their phone
Right.
and someone's worried that because they can't get in touch with them, this is another means for you to connect with that person.
Howard, how large is the device that you're calling on the desktop? So what are we looking at?
It's like a small salad plate, and here's where maybe we can show a picture of it.
Okay. Okay. A
Yep.
small salad plate. All right. So it's not nothing really huge, nothing that would be intrusive in anybody's home.
No, I mean it's like basically about the size of an old school alarm clock.
Okay. Okay. I know what that looks like. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's a two-way, so it's a two-way thing. And is it a battery operated?
No, it's good. It plugs into the wall, and the nice thing about having this particular service is we always encourage people to push the button. Why do we encourage people to push the button? Because we don't want it to be something that's like that fear of pushing the button. So when I even introduce it to the family, that's the first thing we do. I'm like, go ahead and push the button. And then we talk to that person on the other end. We explain that we're testing. And then people just get the feel for how that conversation goes. And then we also encourage to do a monthly test every month just to make sure that the system is working. But through that process, people become very comfortable with the idea of who they're talking to on the other end of the device.
Now, this is, if I'm understanding correctly, so I could give a trusted friend or another family member access to the device so that they would also know what's happened. Like if I fell and the device was triggered, somebody would be called, notified in some way.
Yeah, they would actually get a text alert
Okay, cool,
of
cool.
what's going on. And then there was a portal where they could actually log in and see the notes of a particular situation.
All right, so
So
your
there's a
family
whole,
members,
there's a whole platform that's built around these communications and notifications so that really people, if they wanted to, really could understand a given situation if something does occur. And honestly, the idea is also if there are patterns that emerge, right? So, for example, if there's repeated falls, that maybe then it's time for a different conversation.
so
That's
if
okay.
there's repeated falls or anything else, like you're saying, a pattern, and because it's interesting, because maybe the person might, oh, I'm fine, I haven't fallen, everything is great, but you would know otherwise having this device in the house.
That's right. And not only, all the caregivers involved would know, right, what's going on. And that's the idea, right? Because we're talking about peace of mind. The
Right.
reason why you put this device in is because there are some concerns. Maybe there has been a situation or two, and this is a compromise. Right? This is the middle of the
Yes.
road, right?
Yes.
Where, we aren't quite ready to take that big step, but this is a half measure. So everyone agrees that the potential for something to happen is there, but we just aren't ready to go to that next step. Or we feel like we want to have that insurance policy for ourselves. I can't tell you, how devastating it is when someone does have a fall and there is a substantial time between when that fall is actually gets assistance,
Yeah.
right? there have been situations where sometimes someone doesn't get found for a day later, and they've been, then that creates all sorts of other crises that can come out of a situation like that. Right. So I don't want to scare anyone, but we can use our imagination, especially if you're living alone and there's no one with you. And, maybe your niece called you in the morning, didn't get you, and then called you again in the afternoon, and then you could imagine kind of what happens, in that scenario.
This device something that is available as a monthly subscription?
Yeah, all the devices are monthly subscriptions and all that information. I'll give you the link so you can share that with everyone. And all that
Share all of
information
that.
is on our website with more details about all these devices, but they are subscription based. Okay. And they range, but it depends on what types of accessories and how many kind of add-ons you have. But a basic starter package. For the other type of device, the necklace device is going to be about $50. And then for the desktop device, it's going to start at about $55 plus the any additional accessories that you want. And there would be additional charges for those.
All right, now you have a second device as well that we want to hear
Right.
about.
And that's more traditional, I think, of what people kind of think about. They think about the little kind of pendant. These devices are super sophisticated. And what I really like about this, and this is usually the one that we get people started with, is the pendant device because it does have GPS. So you could take it with you. As a matter of fact, I just put one into a home recently where the person likes to take night walks on the boardwalk, and it's an additional safety measure for them. God forbid they're out and about, they have a fall, they can get help right where they are.
This is just a pendant you're wearing, totally unobtrusive. It's wherever you are. It's on you.
Yep. And you could put it, I prefer that if they wear the necklace just so that they can get access to it. But there's a belt loop version of it also. So there's a few variations that you can have with it. And again, if there is a fall, the device auto triggers. There's GPS. It's going to be two-way calling. For these, there's battery power, charger, nightly charger. So then it's going to
Yeah.
sit on your night table next to you when you go to sleep. And these devices go with you everywhere, and you have that security that if you need help, you're going to be able to get it.
I like that. I especially like that because the other device is stationary. So if something happened to you when you're out of the house or in a different area, people might not know where you are. But this, well, it's a GPS. So I love that. And I'm guessing also that my trusted friends or my family, they could also have access to that info.
Yeah, it's the same
Same idea.
platform. It's the same platform. The devices connect to the platform in the same way. Just one is works on the Wi-Fi in your home,
Got it.
right? And the other one is going to be wireless, right? And that one can connect anywhere,
So I think
right?
it's I
One
think it's
other
a
thing I
great
just
compromise for, like as you were saying, it's the peace of mind, the safety measure, but it's not intrusive, and you maintain your privacy and independence in your home.
yeah, one other thing that I think is a really good uh, feature is that we can also include a lockbox. So when and what we essentially do is include that lockbox instructions in anytime we have to dispatch uh, an emergency call to the home. The reason why we do that is because if they can't gain access to the
Right.
house with the
Right.
lockbox, then they unfortunately have to break your door down. So with the lockbox option, we can relay that instruction in the call to dispatch help, and then you don't have to worry about like getting a door repair and new door and all
I
that
like
that kind
that.
of stuff. So
Yeah.
that is actually a really, again, having a plan in place, right? That's your plan. to ensure that you can get help in your home in the eventuality that you need it. If you fall or if anything like that happens, and that is what happens all the time, right? The door gets broken down, help's gonna come in, you're gonna, get whatever assistance you need, and then you have to deal with all the kind of the aftermath of that. But if we plan for
Leaving
these
the door.
things, right, if we plan for
Yeah.
these things, I mean, it seems like a simple thing, but if you don't have this in place, these are the kinds of things that can actually happen.
Love that it is. I keep going back to the word compromise because so many people, oh, I don't want anyone in my house. I don't need anyone. I'm fine. But I could see where either of these devices would be so helpful for people. And even, just for me, and, if I'm out and about and, maybe someone is struggling with some cognitive issues and they get lost. I mean, anything could happen. So I think these are great options for people.
Yeah, so with the cognitive issues, I would say anyone who starts having like the early onset dementia, something like that, they are ready for, some assistance in the
Mm.
home with a caregiver.
This is before
But
before you get to that point.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it will give people peace of mind. I can tell you, like, I distinctly remember my grandfather would disappear on occasion, and I wish we had technology like this. Even though we always found him in the Dunkin' Donuts, that one time that he wasn't there gave the family quite a scare. So, that GPS technology does have a lot of value for those types of situations. But again, I would say that that's a conversation beyond just a device if once you start getting into cognitive issues.
Well, peace of mind, I mean, it's all about peace of mind to age in place safely. I mean, that's the key word, always to be safe. And this looks like two excellent options for people. Again, Howard's gonna give me all the links and his website info. So if you want to know more, you'll be able to check it out. And of course, any questions on any of this, you just give Howard a call, and I know he'll be able to help you.
Yeah, it would be my pleasure. And I also have a nice little video that explains how all this technology works. Because, that's the other thing I think that's worth mentioning. A lot of times people are unsure about technology or
Oh,
they're
yes,
skeptical of
yes.
technology. But these are the tools that we have available to ourselves today. And, I think that they are empowering. I think that they're enabling. And if you are the type of person that wants to remain independent, this is a wonderful compromise so that you can not only satisfy the safety requirement for your family, but really, if something does happen, you will be able to push that button and get help. And there is a certain amount of relief knowing that, especially for those of you who live alone. I think
Absolutely.
it's a
Yeah.
really important thing to have.
Because sometimes people who live alone don't always have someone, right next door or within 5 minutes to, come and rescue them. So this way, someone is going to find you. You're going to be okay. I think they're really just such valuable options for peace of mind. Yeah. Thank you
Yeah,
for
I mean,
sharing this.
yeah, I mean, and if you live with a spouse, that spouse is going to make that phone call for you, right? But if you are by yourself in the house, I think that's where this is even more important. For couples, yeah, it's a good idea to have also because maybe, one person may not necessarily, maybe that's the primary caregiver, right?
Yes.
And then,
Yes.
they're taking care of someone who may not be able to even help you up off the floor or, know what to do in that emergency situation. So all of these types of scenarios are things that I would be happy to talk to you about and come up with a solution that makes sense, right? These are all pieces of a solution. I like to think of the alerting devices as an early insurance policy before you perhaps need a caregiver. but sometimes we put both things in at the same time just because it's the
I
right
can
thing to
see that.
do and
Yeah.
it makes sense. And honestly, in terms of an insurance policy, it's still a fairly inexpensive one starting at $50 a month.
Definitely. All right, Howard Stein from Home Helpers. Howard, thank you so much for being my guest today. Always excellent information. All of Howard's info, again, will be in the show notes, right?
Great. Thank you so much. And it's always a pleasure talking with you and our friends at Scan.
Thank you. Remember out there, if it's important to you, it's important to us. I'm Andrea Tarr, and we'll see you next time on Scan FYI. Bye, everyone. Bye, Howard.